Hello and welcome. Today we are diving into one of the most brilliant and, frankly, one of the most bizarre theories in the entire history of philosophy. We're talking about Gottfried Wilhelm Leibniz and his theory of monads. He was trying to figure out the fundamental nature of reality. And let me tell you, his answer is, well, it's unlike anything you've probably ever heard. So let's get into it.
All right, first, I need you to just forget everything you think you know about atoms, about physical matter, all of it. Just start with this question. What if the basic building blocks of everything, you, me, the stars, everything, weren't tiny little bits of stuff, but were actually living, perceiving, self-contained universes? Yeah, that's the world Leibniz is inviting us to explore.
So to really get where Leibniz was coming from, you have to picture the world he was living in. On one side, you had this new, exciting mechanistic science. It saw the universe as this giant clockwork machine, totally deterministic, made of physical matter. But on the other side, you still had the powerful religious worldview, which saw the universe as a place filled with purpose, guided by God, and animated by souls. Leibniz saw this huge clash and thought there has to be a way to bring these two together.
And his solution was, well, it was to basically throw out the entire rule book. He proposed a completely new kind of fundamental atom for reality. He didn't think the world was made of mindless matter at all. He believed it was made of something he called the monad.
Okay, so what in the world is a monad? The most important thing to get is that it's not a physical thing. You can't see it, you can't touch it, you can't put it under a microscope. Think of it more like a pure, simple unit of force, or energy, a point of existence. For Leibniz, these are the only things that are truly real. Everything else that we see and experience is just a collection of them.
Now, these monads have some really fascinating properties. Because they're simple, with no parts, they can't be broken down. They're indestructible. They're brought into being by God in a process Leibniz poetically called fulguration, kind of like a continuous flash of divine creation. And get this, no two monads are ever exactly alike. Each one is totally unique. But the real key, the thing that unlocks this whole theory, is those last two properties, appetition and apperception.
Because here's the thing. While every monad is a building block of the universe, they are not all created equal. Leibniz pictured the cosmos as this vast hierarchy, a great chain of being, with every single monad having its own spot on a kind of ladder of awareness.
So, this is the crucial part. Every single monad, and I mean every single one, even one that makes up a rock, has some level of perception. He called this apperception. It's the monad's internal point of view on the universe. And every monad also has an internal drive, an impulse to change its state and move from one perception to the next. That's appetition. These two forces are what animate everything.
And this ladder just illustrates it perfectly. Way down at the bottom, you have bare monads. These make up things like rocks and minerals. They have perception, sure, but it's completely unconscious. A step up, you find soul monads, which make up animals. These have consciousness and even memory. Then you get to spirit monads, which is us, humans. We have self-consciousness and the power of reason. And right at the very top, you have the supreme monad, God, who has a perfect, complete perception of everything all at once.
This whole intricate system is governed by two really elegant rules. First, the principle of plenitude, which just means there are no missing rungs on this ladder of being. Every possible degree of awareness is filled. And second, the principle of sufficient reason. This is huge. It means that nothing is random. There is a rational explanation for why everything is the way it is.
Okay, so we have a universe built from infinite points of view, all perfectly arranged in this beautiful hierarchy. It's a stunning picture, right? But now we get to the part that is going to absolutely blow your mind. Welcome to the windowless paradox. This is one of Leibniz's most famous and most puzzling statements. He said that monads have no windows. What on earth could that possibly mean? It means that every single monad is completely and totally isolated from every other monad. It's hermetically sealed. Nothing from the outside can influence it, and it can't influence anything else. All of its perceptions, its entire existence, just unfolds from within according to its own internal programming. There is no cause and effect between monads, at all. And right away, this brings up a massive, glaring question. If every single building block of reality is locked away in its own private little universe, then how do we have a shared reality? Why does it seem like when I decide to pick up this cup, my hand actually picks it up? How is any of this possible if nothing is interacting?
The answer, for Leibniz, isn't interaction, it's coordination.
But not just any coordination. We're talking about perfect, divinely engineered synchronization on a cosmic scale.
This is Leibniz's masterstroke. He calls it the theory of pre-established harmony. The idea is that God, being the master architect of the universe, created every single monad and pre-programmed its entire life story, its entire sequence of perceptions, from the beginning of time to the very end. And he did this for every monad, making sure they all run in perfect lockstep with each other.
He used a really simple but powerful analogy to explain this. I want you to imagine a master clockmaker who builds two absolutely flawless clocks. He sets them to the exact same time, down to the nanosecond, and starts them at the exact same moment.
Now, those two clocks will stay in perfect agreement forever. They'll always show the same time. But it's not because one clock is causing the other to move. It's because their harmony was pre-established from the very beginning. That, Leibniz says, is how reality works. The monad of my mind that thinks raise arm, and the monads that make up my arm moving are just two different clocks set in motion by God, to always be in perfect harmony.
And here's what's so incredible about this. Because each monad is programmed to be in sync with the entire universe. Its internal state is actually a reflection of the whole cosmos, but from its own unique point of view. So each monad is like a microcosm, a living mirror of everything else.
Now, this might seem like an unbelievably complicated system, but for Leibniz, it had a huge payoff. It offered what he believed was a revolutionary solution to one of the oldest and most stubborn problems in all of philosophy, the mind-body problem.
You see, the philosopher Descartes was stumped by this. He couldn't figure out how an immaterial, non-physical mind could possibly push around a physical body. It was a massive puzzle. Leibniz's answer is just brilliantly simple. They don't interact at all. Your mind, which is a spirit monad, and your body, which is just a collection of lesser monads, are simply two parallel tracks, two perfect clocks running in pre-established harmony. No interaction necessary. Problem solved.
And this vision of a perfectly harmonious, perfectly rational system led Leibniz to his most famous and certainly his most controversial conclusion. He argued that the world we're living in right now is, quite literally, the best of all possible worlds.
Now, this wasn't just him being an optimist. It was a purely logical conclusion for him. He reasoned that a perfect, all-knowing God would have considered every single possible universe before creating one. And since God is also perfectly good, he would, by definition, choose the one that contained the greatest amount of existence, harmony, and perfection. So for all its apparent flaws, this world, our world, has to be it.
And that leaves us with one final, gigantic question to chew on. If every thought we think, every choice we seem to make, every action we take is all part of a script that was written at the beginning of time, if our lives are just the beautiful unfolding of a pre-established harmony, are we truly free, or are we all just perfectly performing our part in a grand divine play? That's a question that really gets to the core of what it means to be human.